Welcome to this afternoon's sessions. I think this is going to be fighting the motorbikes and ambulances as we go. The theme for this session is how to convince your parents art and design courses are wise career choices. And there's a subtitle too. Find out what employers in the creative industries are looking for. Should you do fine art or an applied course? And I guess in the UK right now, at a time when looking at the cost of degree courses, we're all measured on graduate outcomes. It's a really topical theme to pick up on. And I think wisely, they've got a good mixed panel today representing views in Savannah in the USA, from Falmouth University, and from Winchester. We'll introduce ourselves first of all. My name's Paul Springer. I'm the Director of Communications and the Academy of Music and Theatre Arts, right down on the tip of England at Falmouth University. To my right is Kalen. Kalen?
Hi, everyone. How are we doing today? Good. My name is Kalen Curtis. I'm the Director of Admission at SCAD, which is the Savannah College of Art and Design. We are a private, nonprofit, fully accredited art and design university in the United States, offering the most amount of fully accredited programs of any design school in the US. We have over 40 majors, over 75 minors, combinable into over 100 degree programs across everything from architecture to fashion to fine arts to gaming, industrial design, user experience design, and many, many more. We have a 99% alumni employment rate for the fourth consecutive year. So that's obviously the number one thing we share when we're talking to prospective students and their parents. So looking forward to chatting today.
Fantastic. And on my left, we have Tim from Winchester.
Hi, my name's Tim Metcalf, and I'm the Director of Undergraduate Programs at Winchester School of Art. So similarly to Kellen, we have like a range of undergraduate courses ranging from fine art, graphic arts, fashion, textiles, fashion marketing, and games design.
Okay, and there's a number of themes I suggest we might start with today. I've made note of a few about the changing landscape of work, flexible skills and specialisms, what we're teaching students now, knowing that the nature of work is shifting radically at the moment, and also what we're doing to future-proofing. But I think we'd also be good to, as looking around already, I think we've got some parents in as well, so it might be us convincing parents as well. And what employers want. It might be worth starting with maybe the employer perspective, because one thing that's happened, I think, particularly in the last few years, is a lot of creative companies themselves don't quite know what they want, but they're very quick at noticing that young people are very good at intuiting things forward. They're leaning far further into universities now to work with us on shaping curriculum, on advising, on setting live projects, and to make sure that students have got good CVs before they leave. But also, so they've got fishing rights, because they want to make sure they've got the best talent coming through higher education as well. So we might want to pick on some of the observations that we've had, first of all, about what we think, what we've been told employers are really after. Are you okay kicking off on that one? Otherwise, okay.
Yeah, and certainly this is from a SCAD perspective. We have over 620 employer visits a year, and they're coming to recruit our students for open positions at their companies. And it's everything from your typical design firm to NASA and Google and HP and hospitals and, perhaps industries that you wouldn't think a fine arts or creative student is going to go into. But every single company, especially today, needs a creative to be successful. They have websites they have to maintain. They have social media presence that they have to forge and be noticeable, and they're using creatives for that. We have a social strategy and management degree program that teaches students how to use social media and the business behind it, and the data analysis and the trends. So to forward a brand. And every single company in the world needs that, especially today, because of how much we're using social media and media in general to get information and to be interested in buying clothing or to figure out what car we're going to buy or whatever it may be. So when we have employers that come to talk to our students, it's not just from the typical creative, what you might think of as a creative company. It's everywhere. And they need us. They need artists to be successful as well.
Absolutely. Similarly, I remember not that long ago being bowled away by, it was a writing student who said, actually, I've got this great placement lined up. You might be interested in this one, Paul. Apparently, I've been asked to create traits for chatbots. So in other words, voice-activated assistants like Amazon Echo and others. You've got lots of creative people now working on that space, because technology can do anything you want it to, but it needs theatre of the imagination, storytellers, creative people to find ways in making it engage. And that's when all the disciplines sort of come together, and that's when we get employers working a lot with us. Don't know what your experiences are on this, Tim. I know we've been talking a lot, and I've heard quite a fair bit you were saying earlier.
Yeah. I mean, I think also it's all great to be informed by your alumni as well. So obviously keeping a real tight kind of connection with the students that have left and gone on to kind of do great kind of careers, bringing those people back in, looping them back into the process, and kind of like, always being aspirational for those current students who are going through that process. I think a lot of the students also want kind of that confidence to collaborate as well, not only with each other on the programs, but beyond the programs, to interconnect and kind of look what maybe students are doing in biological science or like kind of mathematics, and how that can connect to typography or textiles. All those things are really, really important, I think. So I think that the collaborative element is really key. I think a lot of, certainly our institutes, I'm sure, kind of we employ kind of agile educators. It's not people that just know one thing down that straight road. It's like the students that we produce and kind of go through our programs are going to have a portfolio career, undoubtedly, probably where 20 years ago they'd have like possibly one thing, and that's what they go on to do and retire in that way. It is a big mix. It is a big kind of overlap, and I think that's the confidence we instill in the students through the 3 or 4 years kind of gives them that kind of awareness and confidence to go out and understand that that's their journey. I think that's quite important.
And I think that hits on one of the bigger things about why higher education altogether. Further education will try and get you jobs immediately for employers that are waiting there. That will mean you're doing sort of jobbing bits, where higher education is looking at you going into the profession, which is different. It's preparing you for the skills now, and how you can carry on molding and adapting as the technology is chopping and changing. I made a few notes here of popular misconceptions, often with students, when we're talking at interview and students are saying what they think they want at the end of 3 years, and then the difference in what employers are telling us, and there are a few. One is that the misconception is employers want the finished article. They want people with the right math skills, the right program set knowledge, and actually what they want is adaptability, someone that can work in their team and work on their project. And the same goes with filmmakers, we've discovered. Often the thought is that they want IT specialists, software expertise, auteurs, people that can create the perfect crafted film. And what they really want are the soft skills, teamwork, people that can fit in, people that have their ideas but can run with other people's ideas. And that kind of comes with confidence as well. But it's knowing how to apply what you've got in different situations. That's the bit they really seem to want immediately, what they call oven ready, the moment students, usually before they leave, because we all start working on placements now. There's also the assumption they want creative obsessives, and actually often what they want as well are people that can balance their own values and the things that really matter to them with the expertise of having done a single route sort of degree, so you've got specialism as well. And we were talking earlier that a lot of universities now, I know certainly Winchester do this, as does Falmouth University, but we make a point that rather than just getting embedded in one particular discipline, there is scope to go and learn other skills while you're at university. So for instance, we have what they call Wednesday open workshops, where every Wednesday, and what we call the workshop festivals, students can go to another part of the university and learn other skills. So they might be coached in how to present and make convincing arguments. They might, if they're doing illustration, they might want to go and learn virtual reality. They might want to go and do wood turning or ceramics or other disciplines. But they love the idea that people can be polymaths. People can bring in different fascinations and things that they're really interested in, and use the skills that they're learning to help make a career that match their value systems. So for instance, we know at Falmouth we get a lot of people that are very into sustainable lifestyles. It seems to be drawing people down to the southwest in that way, and they're looking to sort of get a trade and a skill that they can make a difference, and that matters as much as the graduate level employment. And that's been a seismic change, I think, in the last 2 or 3 years. And we're all measured on graduate success outcomes and employability rates and national student survey success. But how you mix values, your own value systems, with the skills that you pick up is crucial. And that often affects the choice that you make. What subject do you want? How do you then put it into play and practice? I don't know if you want to add, or we can hop on a different subject. Okay. Anything else to add on that theme? Or should...
I think just on from that point, I think industry kind of in some sense, they want to employ people that they don't have in their company already. So with that, it's like as a student, having that confidence to have that sense of to be different. And earlier we talked about kind of hybrid approach to skill sets. So if you are a typographer, then why not try knit and combine two weird things and be that kind of like expertise, or sculpture and coding, or all these things are kind of like giving you that edge. You're a different shape. And I think to be the different shape is almost something I think can really add value to your portfolio. When you leave, you become more kind of attractive as someone to employ because you're different. And I think that's the good thing, to probably question the linear approach to a program and to question that. And again, a good program that we're all part of, will allow that kind of agility to shift and to have that confidence. And that if that's instilled and viewed early on within that student, kind of like there can only benefits in the second year and the third year.
Brilliant, thank you, Tim. I think next on this line is how to convince your parents that you can actually make a really good living from doing a creative subject. Because if you read the popular narrative in the press, it's very different. You should be doing business, you should be doing a STEM subject. The argument is, or join the NHS. The argument often is, how do you make a living from those skills? What do universities do to make sure you can get jobs? How do you end up with 99% employment rates? So it might be worth picking up on what we do in and around developing the right skills so that people are ready to go straight and get work. We'll start on my right in Savannah. Hi.
So SCAD has a very interesting program. It's a department called SCAD Pro, and it's essentially a department that brings companies into the classroom, and they pitch problems, design challenges for our students to solve. So, for example, Uber came to SCAD and pitched the fact that they wanted to develop this flying car. And it's essentially a large-scale drone that will have passengers. And it's called Uber Elevate. And our students designed the entire liftoff experience and the interior of the aircraft. And 2 students got hired by Uber to continue the project. Over the past 10 years, SCAD Pro has hosted over 500 collaborative projects with over 300 top brands, many of which are on the Fortune 100 list. And they have directly led to 200 job offers to our students just from the projects. And it's all to prepare our students for what they're going to experience in the real world when they exit SCAD, and ultimately to connect them with industry before they even have to graduate. And on top of that, we're finding that companies, they want to hear from the 18 to 26-year-old age range right now. We did another SCAD Pro project with the Commonwealth Bank of Australia, and we were developing like a software for helping millennials learn banking. And they were so impressed. They utilized some of the things in what they actually produced. And it's a bank coming to an artist and creative institution for our knowledge, our expertise, our feedback, our opinions, and our design solutions for their problems. How are they going to get millennials to actually want to bank and become financially savvy at that young of an age? And so who are they going to talk to? Well, the age range they're trying to make this work for. And so that's what we're finding is so popular right now, especially I think if the pandemic taught us anything, it's that you cannot replace creativity. That is a skill set that cannot be automated. It is not a technology that you can have in a warehouse or a factory. It is something that will never be not in demand by any industry.
That's a really good observation, actually. It's interesting, it's automotive, media companies, telecommunications seem to be, in particular, targeting universities right now because, obviously, universities bring gravitas, neutrality and rigor, which they also want to sell on to their clients. We similarly did a project for Volkswagen e-cars, and they were looking at communicating the idea of driving fast without sound, and what, first of all, that might do to the interior of a car, and secondly, how do you communicate the experience? And they have creative teams working for them, but what they wanted were fine artists, illustrators, people they wouldn't normally talk to, working on it. And in exchange, that was on their CV, they were funding us for it, that money went into making it a different experience, so we had tea and coffee and food on tap. And We're not unique in that, but it just makes it a much more heightened experience. And professional reality is that's the sort of thing that we know students want on their CVs, either projects like that or courses that they're really closely aligned to working on. And the companies want to say that they've been working with fresh minds that are really creative and are moving on it. And we're also to be moving in kind of similar spaces now. I don't know if you've got examples you want to draw on.
Yeah, it's something we kind of mentioned before, I think, is that a lot of the time, like, we're informed by industry, but we're also informing industry. So that circular kind of connection in that sense. And within the art school where I work, so yeah, we have employability modules, sure, in the third year where students prepare for bridge that gap before they get anywhere near the chance of leaving. But certainly with fine art also, it's kind of a different beast in a way, because fine art as a practice is something that obviously we really kind of nurture. So we work with the John Hansard Gallery in Southampton. We kind of really connect in that idea of the business element of fine art, because those students are confident and prepared, the idea that they're going to become probably freelance. What does that mean to them? How are they going to kind of promote themselves? They're not naturally possibly tuned in or wired into kind of that kind of confidence to kind of talk and sell themselves, which is an ugly word in some sense, but it is true. That's what it's about. But yet we give the students the tools to do that, and those that want to do that really grasp really well, and they do really well through that fine art lens. Because design and the rest of the course that I look after are design based. Naturally, it's geared towards that kind of commercial kind of venture. Where fine art is obviously down to the individual. If they want to be individual people that just make their work for themselves, that's brilliant. If they want to become like kind of freelance, that's brilliant. If they want to kind of like go heavy commercial and get kind of large corporate connections, again, all that's possible. So it's allowing the students to make those decisions and to open their minds out quite early on about which route they want to go down, rather than just expect fine art, for example, to be something that is just the struggling artist. It doesn't need to be like that anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's enough opportunities out there for anyone to do really well and to be successful, whether you measure that through a portfolio or a show in a gallery or financial. Again, that's down to the individual, but we give the student the tools to make the decisions.
And I think Tim's queued me up as well for another thing that universities are doing very well. I think we're one of many that have got modules now that run right across the university, whether you're doing fine art, illustration, filmmaking, game design, whether you're doing illustration or architecture. We have modules deliberately so that people are working on briefs between disciplines. So you get your core skills, you learn a lot about the discipline in the first 2 years, but then you get a chance to the so what bit. You get a chance to test all of that. So we deliberately bring teams from different areas together for a number of reasons. One, we've talked about working with industry, but also we know one of the single best networks you can have before you graduate are your alumni. And unless you've got a working relationship with them, when you go outside, when you get a job and you think, right, I'm a game designer, I really need an illustrator now, or I need someone that's really good with words, who do I call on? I work with them on that project, I know exactly who to call. That network is absolutely crucial. So we do engineer situations deliberately so that people, A, they've got stories to tell of what they've done, but B, they got working relationships with people with different skill sets. And it means now, for instance, that students can come and do one course, but when they go to do that course, they're not uniquely limited to that range of kit or that part of the building. They can go to any other part, and they've got that introduction, and they've got people they can work with. So I think we're all simultaneously working on projects like a collaboration module and business modules, so you can work out the exchange values. If you're an artist, how long do you spend on a piece of work? What's the exchange value for it? If you're doing a design job for somebody, are you paying per job? Are you paying for the hours that you put in? What comes into the full economic cost of putting that together? All of those things now are factored into the education in a way that they weren't about 4 or 5 years ago. We probably all wish we had that when we were students, and we've kind of modelled it on that and what we're advised. So you get lots of sort of collabs, and I think pretty much all the student unions now are doing a bit like a fit find a bit, when you're saying, right, I'm an illustrator, I need someone that can shoot film, I need an animator, I've got a deadline of this, can you come and work with me, please? And there's all of that sort of internal networking that's in place now. Also how to fundraise, that comes into it. But we all seem to be working in spots like that alongside coaching. And the other thing I think that's very particular to creative industries, unlike STEM subjects, is that we're asking something slightly different in creative education. We're asking people to take risks, to get outside themselves to grow, which also means necessarily asking people to be vulnerable. And we know that we have in higher education more people with learning difficulties, more people with dyslexia, more people that have had to design around challenges. So what you'll find, particularly in creative, as we've got here, creative industries universities, you'll find layers of support built in, student mentors, schemes. You'll find well-being officers on call to help people learn to live away from home and to understand the difference in types of education. It's very different from the one sort of intellect they build in a high school and the 19 different sorts of intellect that are available, especially for creative. And you're looking at spatial awareness. You might not be very good at time management. You might be not great at communication. All those things we look to sort of build up alongside the course curriculum. And we've got layers of support in. I know Savannah do too. Cue you up for that.
Yeah, of course. So we have a wide array of different departments that support students once they're on ground. Every student has a student success advisor, a career advisor, and a faculty advisor, and they all serve a different purpose. There's also, the career services department, the counseling and student support services department, the student success and activities, and, everything to support the well-roundedness of a student's education while they're at SCAD, not only to be successful in their classes, but to also take advantage of all the extracurricular opportunities that are being brought to them. We have, this saying that if you're not successful, you were doing something wrong. You didn't take advantage of everything that we brought to you because there's just so much all the time. Are we ready for questions?
I think before I was going to quickly pop on to Tim. We're going to
add a little bit to the end there. I think obviously support's really kind of brilliant and kind of baked into most courses, but certainly if people undertake an art and design course, that also becomes an outlet and helps well-being anyway. The idea of creation and making work can really kind of support that. So again, another thing for the parents to listen to, art and design can kind of make you kind of process and kind of out those kind of ideas. And I think with that, there's a real creative element to that too. I just want to add also, I think that the way that I think education is structured these days is really, really good for students. And I think with that, there's so much attention and embedded in a lot of programs, a lot of courses across the kind of globe that if that sense of anxiety about kind of students going on to different kind of processes and kind of programs that might be stress given in some sense, that what happens at the end of that, well, there's so much support baked into all these courses and all these universities that actually students thrive in these scenarios, they thrive in these situations, and the staff are supportive, they're trained, and a lot of universities have so much kind of support that's obviously available in all different scenarios, and the staff are trained in many different experiences. So again, it is really kind of a valuable way that universities now are so different to how they were 10, 15 years ago. You wouldn't recognise the support that's available.
Brilliant. Thank you, Tim.